What's up, everyone? Welcome to Level 7. It is time for another episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast. I'm your host, Zwarych, bringing you an all-new show for us to break down every week here on a Monday. The Last of Us Season 2 has arrived, and helping me break it down every week, you know him. You've seen him. He's been on the podcast lots. My co-host from the Beyond Invincible show. We got metalcore nerd, Sean Mott. How you doing?
Oh, dude, I am so happy to be here to break down what is going to be probably the most traumatic experience of some of our lives coming up. Can't wait. Happy to be here.
The poll I put up in the YouTube chats for our viewers is, are you ready to be hurt again? Because it seems like that is all The Last of Us does to us, and helping us break it down. Couldn't have a show with Pedro Pascal without the co-host of Pedro Pascal joining us, Rachel Leishman. Welcome back. How you doing?
Hello. What's up?
I want to know, before we even start talking about this show, what is your The Last of Us Part 2 knowledge base? Have you played the game? Have you watched done a watch through of the game? Are you going in blind?
So when the first season was announced, my friend, this is her favorite game. And so we were talking because of Pedro. And so she played through both parts so that I could see it, because I'm bad at games. I have a PlayStation, I have a Switch. I'm just not good at games. And so she played through them so I could see the story. And I have now seen the entire second season of The Last of Us.
You know what's coming. You're ready to be hurt. You've been hurt, and it's such an interesting show to break down, right? Because it's not like we're going in totally blind week to week. There is source material. We're just kind of wondering how it's going to be adapted, and so very much looking forward to talking about this with you all. Rachel, I'm sure we'll have you back for at least another episode, or if not, we're talking Daredevil with you tomorrow night on Tuesday. 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern time. You can join us live on Tuesday for the finale of Daredevil Born Again. After that, the following week, we will be talking Andor. And, for some Star Wars content, there's a good chance we're going to be getting Rachel back on for that, too.
And I'll be back.
We got Andor. We got Daredevil. We got The Last of Us. So make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Make sure you don't miss out on any of our shows. Tomorrow, I have my first 2 cast interviews for Andor, so that's going to be coming to the channel soon. And then next week, I'm going to be flying to Toronto for the red carpet for some more interviews, as well as the Canadian premiere of that. So very much looking forward to it. Stay tuned. We got lots of fun stuff coming. Let's talk about, or before we even talk about The Last of Us, I want to know what you're watching. Because, Sean, we haven't talked on a podcast for a while. Rachel, you've been crazy busy, and so we haven't talked on a podcast in a while. So, Sean, I'll start with you. What you been watching?
Well, the Pitt just ended, which is depressing. So thank God The Last of Us started, so I have something to look forward to on a weekly basis. But I think I've talked about this before. My wife is very bad with TV shows. Not bad. She just doesn't really like them, to be honest. But I started watching The Pitt, and usually I'll watch something and she'll just be reading on the couch. And I started watching The Pitt, and I saw her Kindle just go down. And she's like, I'm so mad I'm into this right now. Because it took away from her reading. But we got obsessed with The Pitt, caught up, and then we're on the weekly journey with it, with most of the world, apparently. Obviously a massive, massive hit. But that show is incredible. What an amazing show. And then another show I fell in love with, no shock, is from Apple TV Plus, but Your Friends and Neighbors, that stars John Hamm. And I've seen a good chunk of the season, and it is fantastic. I'll just give you the basic premise. John Hamm is a super high hedge fund manager, and he's dealing with a divorce. And it's like years after his divorce, but then he ends up losing his job in a very controversial way. So he starts to turn to stealing from his rich neighbors mostly because he realizes that, it's things these people won't even miss or even realize that's missing. And I don't know, it's like a weirdly addicting show. Like the more you get into it, the more you get sucked in. And they do this really cool thing is whenever he goes to steal something, he'll kind of do like a little commercial on said item of like how expensive it is, why it's so expensive, and so on. And it's just a really well made show. No shock, Apple TV just continues to bring the hits. I think I made a post about this after this episode, but I feel like this year in TV needs to be like studied of how insanely incredible it is. And we're only in April. Like it's just kind of blowing my mind how many incredible TV shows have already been out, and we're not even halfway through the year. It's insane. Those are the main things I've been super into. I've kind of been watching a lot of stuff, but those are my two highest bar, I guess I would say.
I was thinking about that as well. Like, truly shocking the level of television we have in 2025 so far. I haven't seen it yet, but it's on the list. Everyone's raving about the Pitt. We just finished Severance. The Last of Us is coming. Andor is coming. Paradise was absolutely incredible. Like, just so many good TV shows this year. One that I'm watching that like added to the list that I finally caught up on is The Studio, where I agree that it's incredible. I will admit, though, the style of comedy doesn't hit quite as hard for me as I think it is for most people. I get such bad secondhand embarrassment in certain situations. And so specifically episode 2 of The Studio, the Oner episode, where freaking Matt Remick, Seth Rogen, is just unable to cue into any social cues, and it's just absolutely killing me the entire episode. I was like, no, I can't do it. I can't watch it. But that was the only one that really gave me that feeling. The rest of it I've just been really enjoying as we go. So I'm thankful I can talk about The Last of Us. I'm thankful I'm caught up with The Studio, and the one that I still feel like I got to get up to date with because the internet is just filled with it, is the Pitt. And so that's next up on my list. I did finish The White Lotus. I'm all caught up there and finished. I'll admit, for me, I think that show's a little overrated. The acting is fucking phenomenal. I don't think I buy into Mike White's writing style. There's just no overarching story, and it doesn't do it for me. It's like he does such a good job of building up the anticipation, and then every season finale has fallen flat for me. And so not quite for me. I'm not sure if I'll continue through season 4, but we'll see. I'll probably get some FOMO when I see all the internet reacting to it. Rachel, what have you been watching?
So I, like everyone else, have been watching The Pitt. And as much as I love that show and I recognize it as a good show, as someone from Pittsburgh, I have my thoughts that they need to fix for season 2, because ain't no one at a hospital wearing nice clothes. They were in head-to-toe Steelers outfits. So I don't understand why we had one guy in a Steelers shirt and a Steeler blanket, and that's it. Where are my Buccos? Where are the Penguins? Like, they're missing the lore of Pittsburgh. Which I did interviews for that show, and I could tell that the cast has heard it because from people from Pittsburgh. Because the one guy was like, "Yeah, I've heard about the Yins." I know, because they said "U's." That's Philadelphia. We don't say "U's," we say "Yins." Anyways, so it was The Pitt. I've watched The Studio. I've caught up on that. White Lotus, I've caught up on. I love Dr. Odyssey. That show makes no sense at all. It's great. They just did a whole flashback episode where Diana Agron played a younger version of Don Johnson's wife in a hot tub. It was crazy. And then Abbott and stuff like that. Just watching all my little shows.
One that I do want to know your thoughts on, because this is probably my most anticipated non-comic book movie of the year. How was Sinners?
Sinners rules. I love Sinners. Sinners, like, literally, we were at CinemaCon, and me and, like, I don't know if you guys know Juju, like Straw Hat Goofy. We were like the 2 people who had seen it. So anytime we saw somebody who had seen Sinners, we all started talking about Sinners. But it rules. I love that movie so much. There's an aspect ratio change in it that, like, put me on the edge of my seat. Like I legitimately said I felt like that meme where the guy like sits up and is like act like that's how I felt in the movie theater.
Can't wait to go see that one in the theaters. I've like Sean, to piggyback what you were talking about earlier, I felt like TV so far in 2025 has been like one of the best starts to the year I've ever seen on television. Whereas movies has been pretty, I don't want to say bleak, but just like fine to start the year. Like a lot of okay to good movies, but not a lot of great movies, at least to me personally, to start the year. And Sinners is the first one that I'm thinking like that's the one. That is the one that I can't wait to go to. Outside of course, like Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, Superman. I'm always going to be excited for those. But Sinners is really the one that stands out to me that I cannot wait to go see in theaters. Let's talk about The Last of Us, my friends. That's why we're here. That's why the viewers are here. Once again, if you're watching us live or after the fact, please smash the like button so we can grow this community. We'll be talking The Last of Us. We'll be talking Andor. We'll be talking Daredevil and so much more over the next few months. Rachel, I'll throw it to you first. Just spoiler-free thoughts, reactions to episode 1. Pedro and Bella are back. What did you think about The Last of Us episode 1?
I liked it a lot. I think I like that they are a little more free with like making the story their own, it seems, this season than they were in the first season. Like the first episode was pretty accurate to the game in season 1, where this one is like, yes, there are moments that are from the game, but there are also moments that are completely the show's own. And I like that they took that freedom this season, that they were like, look, we can do a faithful adaptation in season 1, and in season 2, it's a little bit more, hey, we're going to have our own take on this story. And I think I like that a lot.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's more room, and we'll see it throughout the season, that like season 1 had those really great episodes where, holy wow, I'm just absolutely blanking on actor names right now. It's
Dylan
one
Frank,
of my favorite, Nick Offerman and
Murray
yeah,
Bartlett.
and thank you, and Murray Bartlett in the like their own little episode that is completely on its own, separate from the game, but they were kind of like those contained portions. This season does a really good job of weaving new story and added context throughout the main story that I think the first season didn't quite do to the same extent. So agreed there completely. Sean, what about you? Episode 1, you got something to look forward to every week again, just to be emotionally shattered every time you watch.
Yeah, so The Last of Us Part 2 is probably my favorite story of any medium probably ever. Or at least it's up there in that conversation. I just started replaying the game, and I just got to Abby's part. That's all I'm going to say about that. If you've played the game, I don't need to divulge any deeper into that. But like what Rachel said, I love the changes they've made. And with this game in particular, there's a lot of flashbacks. There's a time jump. In the show, it's 5 years. In the game, it's 4 years. Still very similar. But the way they play with time in the game is very interesting, and I figured they were going to change a lot of it because I don't think it would work the same in a TV show as it does in the game. Because I've had this conversation, or tried to have this conversation with a lot of people, because a lot of my friends have played the game. A lot of people put me onto the game in the pandemic. That's when I got into The Last of Us. I finished the first one, and then a few months later the second one came out, so it was like I played them almost back to back pretty much. And it's like, and I've seen Craig and Neil talk about this in press for this season, is that it's such a different thing because in a game, you're playing as the character. Like you are the character for all intents and purposes. So there's a different weight that comes with it because you're kind of being that. And with a TV show, it's a passive way instead of an active way. So you need to do all these different things to kind of elicit the same feelings you elicit within the game. And we'll start to talk about all the changes, but I feel like they needed to format this differently in order for it to be effective. And I've seen some people complain about, they're like, wow, they changed too much from the game already. And I'm like, go play the game. Like, why do you want it to be the same thing? Like, I don't want it to be the same thing. I love that they have these like little nods and how it is still a very faithful adaptation, but I don't want to see the same thing. And like you said, season 1 was kind of mostly the same thing. They had some new stuff. Obviously, the Bill and Frank episode is, everyone talks about that because it's incredible. I just rewatched that the other day because I guess I wanted to cry. I don't know. So I put it on, and like, I don't know. I love the changes they've handled so far, even with just this one episode. And I'm really excited to see how they continue to do it. And like I feel like Neil's like messing with the game players in ways, kind of like baiting us with certain scenes and changing things up a certain way. And I kind of like that. Kind of like that they're messing with us, because I think they're trying to find a way to subvert our expectations as game players or people who know the story, so that this part feels just as devastating as the game did, because it really is. And I don't know, like even the changes to Dina feel so like massive compared to the game. And Dina's a great character in the game, but like in episode 1, like already cemented as like a fan favorite. And in a lot of reactions or reviews, Elizabeth Elmer said was name dropped, like over or at the level of Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal. So that's like a big deal. But for a season premiere, I really, really liked it. I thought it was such a strong start. It sets the stakes and leaves things vague enough, I think, that casual people or just, you know, general audience are completely unaware of what's to actually happen in this season.
To take a chapter out of our friend Matt Remke from thedirect.com and co-host of the Direct podcast book, to go a little movie or sports mode a little bit, you expect, if you go to a Laker game, when you watch an episode of The Last of Us, you expect Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey to be amazing. You expect LeBron James and Luka Doncic, when you go to a Laker game, to put up 30 points, to be top tier all-stars. But when you got Austin Reeves coming in and he's dropping 30 points too, that's a little bit more surprising. It gets you a little bit more excited, because you're like, where the hell did this come from? And that, to me, is the case with Isabella Merced, is we knew she was a good actor, but her performance so far in this is just absolutely incredible. It made me want to see her in more things immediately. It got me more excited for Superman. And even though it was something that came right out of the game, which we'll talk about later, she has a moment in this episode that was my favorite of the entire episode that solidified for me, like, oh, damn, she's her. That is her. And so I'm really excited to talking about that when we get there. But let's start off with the changes, the parts that were not in the game. And the episode starts off straight up with right after where season 1 ended, before the time jump. But before we get to that time jump, Rachel, we get the immediate after the fact perspective from Abby. Her dad has died. She has just buried him. She has no direction in the world other than she wants some revenge. I think this is a pretty cool addition.
Yeah, well, I wrote this in my review, but I said the thing about Abby is, in the game, you're looking at this woman who, I'm like, first of all, she could kill Ellie with one punch, because she's like 12 times the size that Ellie is. And it makes it a little bit more of an even playing field, because Caitlin Deaver is not a giant woman. But I also really like that it is a grief-based trauma and like revenge, and you know exactly why she's driven by everything that she is, where eventually you get all of that information in the game and stuff. But it's like, if I would have had it at the jump, I maybe would have viewed Abby differently. But I don't know, there are like little changes that they made to her character that made me really into kind of what Caitlin Deaver was doing and how Abby functioned in the show as a whole.
And I think they made a really smart decision here, because obviously Abby in the game is like a physical specimen that is not easily replicated. And so I think if, you know, they had to choose between like somebody who really fits the body type or somebody who acts their ass off in the role, I think they made the right choice to go with somebody who is acting their ass off in the role. And Caitlin Deaver's done a really great job. Deaver's done a really great job so far. What did you think of that added scene, Sean?
I have been like weirdly racking my brain of how they were going to structure this season since the end of season 1, and I thought they were going to show Abby's perspective from the hospital scene, which I'm sure will come later. So this was like oh, okay, they kind of did what I was thinking. So I also think it's really smart to, because they still leave a lot out. They don't say who Abby is and why she's so upset. I mean, you can kind of make your own guesses. And they allude to some things. Obviously, they were a part of the Fireflies, and the Fireflies got wiped out. But I do love how they're introducing her. That's nice.
Ruben just added that right now. So shout out to Ruben for making the Last of Us overlay for us here, and now we got a nice little graphic up top.
That's nice.
I love that it's only me in full shot. You guys both.
Yeah, we get cut out a little bit. I'll have to find a way to drop us down.
No, you made it worse.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I think it's needed to weave in Abby's story more throughout the series, and I haven't seen past episode 1, so I'm fully expecting episode 2 shows even more backstory of Abby, leading up to her eventual collision in Jackson, as we see like the closing scene. As soon as they arrived, I was like, this is going to be the ending scene. And that ended, I was like, okay, cool. It's funny because I don't know where they're going to end this season, and that's been the thing that's bothering me. It's hard to like to talk about it without, I don't want to give anything away for people. Like, I have so many friends who have not played the games, and they keep watching like breakdown videos and stuff. And I'm like, just stop. Just stop. And usually they're nice enough and they do a spoiler warning for all the game spoiler stuff. And I was like, you turn it off when they say that. Okay. Don't ruin this for yourself. Like, please, like, don't read anything. Don't watch anything. Just stop looking up things. If you want to know something, just ask me and I'll tell you. Like, not spoiling anything, but if there's like a weird connection, like, I will tell you. I'm just trying to make sure they have like the right experience for this. But yeah, like, I'm just like super, like, like I said, I love the changes, and this was a really good addition. And the way Caitlin Dever acted in this scene was, you could see there's immense sadness, but also rage. And I like that they immediately showed that she is so pissed. Like, I feel like that's needed. To set up for what's to come. But like, I liked how it kind of shifted from grief to anger, like, immediately within the scene. I thought that was like really nice. I was like, okay, cool. You can tell that she's going to be some sort of threat, regardless of what that threat is. They set the stage right in the beginning, and I like that. And it was cool to see it paired with that kind of like extended scene from the ending, which is technically a new thing from the game too. You don't see them like directly go to Jackson. I guess it's like a 2-second thing, but it was cool to see them do that. It was nice how they paired it together and then hit the time jump. Great way to start off the season, in my opinion.
When we get to see the time jump, we see 5 years later, Ellie's getting the shit beat out of her until she eventually beats the shit out of the guy who was beating the shit out of her. It's a nice little training sequence we don't get in the game. And in classic Ellie fashion, she gives her boom, motherfucker. And I will say, single-handedly, Ellie has sort of made it so that I don't really care if my kid swears when she gets older. Like, I'm just kind of willing to embrace it if I have a little Ellie of my own. But the biggest change right from the get-go of this episode is the addition of a character named Gail, who is the therapist of Jackson. And I love how Mallory Rubin put this on a clip I saw from the Ringerverse podcast the other day, where she was talking about how you love to see Joel's going through a lot. He's got so much trauma to work through. It's really good that he would be going to therapy, so that you'd think that'd be a very good addition. But he's not working his way through anything at this point. Like, he's just like, why can't she be more like Dina? He's just there to complain about his kids. Rachel, what did you think about the addition of Gail and the therapy scene, and also the change that Joel has ultimately killed her husband, Eugene, that also was not in the game. There was a character named Eugene, but he just died of old age.
I'll remain mute on Eugene because I know what happens to Eugene. And I have thoughts about that. But I love Gail because I think in my review I said men will go kill zombies in the zombie apocalypse before they go to therapy, except for Joel Miller because he's like, okay, fine, I'll go to therapy in the zombie apocalypse. But yeah, I love that there is a therapist in Jackson, and they're still all like, yeah, let's talk to Gail, let's see what's going on. Gail is also maybe bad at being a therapist.
Gail might have been good at it at one point, but she's kind of like she's given up.
Yeah, she's like, fine, I'm gonna be the town therapist, but also we're living in the apocalypse. Who cares? And I think it's kind of funny.
It's a fun time to be a Catherine O'Hara fan, with her obviously playing a big role in the studio and now here in The Last of Us as well. Very funny to see those two completely different characters on TV at the same time. Sean, what did you think about the addition of Gail, the therapist, Joel in therapy, and what do you think's going on with Eugene?
Yeah, it's a very interesting addition from the game. And the way The Last of Us Part 2 opens up is Joel pretty much confessing to Tommy what happened at the hospital, which is obviously in a later scene between Ellie and Tommy. You know that he obviously knows what happened. But it was they set it up in a different way, like how we just talked about. But having Gail was a pretty great decision from when they kind of revealed that with the trailer and press talking about, oh yeah, she's Joel's therapist. I was like, oh wow, what a interesting addition, because yeah, Joel Miller would do it. I don't think the Joel Miller in the game would have done this, because while I love Joel Miller in the game, obviously, but Pedro's version has been much more emotional and much more vulnerable than the game version. The game version is way more closed off. I mean, while he is obviously withholding information from his therapist, which is kind of defeating the purpose of therapy in itself, I do like how the trailer totally set us up to trick us. And even the scene that was shown was basically when he like is crying and it says, "I saved her." Like how she reveals this is say what you need to say, and then she reveals what she needed to say. Because I kind of had the way one of the shots in the trailers, you see Joel behind Eugene, and I was like, oh, I wonder if he kills Eugene. Like, oh, that's kind of crazy. And then obviously that's confirmed in this episode. I have an idea why, but I won't go into that because I don't know, and I don't want to ruin it for anyone who hasn't played the games. Because even in the games, Eugene is literally showed in a picture with Tommy, and then Dina and Ellie talk about him. But the pot thing is very much from the games. We'll get to that later, probably in the series too. Probably next episode, I would imagine. So like that is a thing from the games too. But yeah, what a cool addition to the character, and even how it kind of bookends with Gail giving him a look at the end after the dance. I'm like, man, what a like. I love the kind of foil she kind of is to Joel from a mental, emotional standpoint. So yeah, great A, and like what a great scene in general. Anyway, what a joy to have Catherine O'Hara just in there to just like totally annihilate a scene.
One of the additions to, and I'm happy you brought up, like, I don't think game Joel would have necessarily been going to therapy, but it makes sense for this character of Joel. And it's just, to me, the vulnerability that Pedro Pascal can bring to a character. He's so good at playing a dad. Like, whether it's Mandalorian, whether upcoming in Fantastic Four, this, and just all the things he does, like his friendship with Dina is definitely different in this show than it is in the game. You can tell right off the hop that they're even closer than they are in the game. And the way he talks to his nephew later in the game, like he's so good with little kids. He's the foreman of the whole city of Jackson now. Rachel, what do you think about the changes that like kind of just innately come to Joel with Pedro playing him?
Listen, Joel Miller hot. I will say there is one thing about this season is you can tell when he went into training for Fantastic Four as you watch the season as a whole, because all of a sudden he looks much different because Pedro Pascal was forced to go to the gym. But it's my favorite thing about him is he's like, I'm not doing that unless someone forces me to. And then he does it and like he looks 15 years younger. And then he's like, and now I don't care again. That's my king. But I really love, like, he has a softness to him that even when he's playing like Joel's gruffer moments, it's still like, we know what Joel did in last season. I gave Joel so much credit because it was Pedro playing him. And I feel like some other dude could have been playing him and I would have been like, no, that was a bad move, or you should have talked to her. Like, you guys needed to have a, like, but because it's him, I was like, no, he's right. He did the right thing. And now he's doing the right thing now. Like, he can do no wrong in my little head.
We get some extra additional parts, like there's a patrol that goes out that isn't part of the beginning of the game, which we'll talk more as we go on. There's the council meeting to talk about what happened on the patrol, and then we end with a quick little porch scene of Ellie walking right by him because they're beefing. They are beefing right now. And I can't really remember, like, they're obviously upset at each, like, Ellie's upset at him in the game too, but I can't remember how much more they actually expand on that in the show versus the game. You go, Rachel.
So, two things. One, Carlos just had a great joke because when I got to the Eugene stuff when I was watching my screeners, I was like, was that Joey Pants? And then he just made a great little joke about him. But I will say, so the show does expand more on like why they're actually mad at each other. Because in the game, it was just that she, correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, because you're replaying this, it was just that she found out the full extent of what happened in Salt Lake and then was just furious with him. And in the game, it is different. Or in the show, it is different. That is still part of it, but it is different. Like, it is not just like her bringing back that anger. It is just like a lot of different things all rolled into one.
So we will avoid theorizing on that aspect of this and kind of wait for that one to come. But I kind of want to know everybody's thoughts on the new character additions to this series, because I've already raved about Isabella Merced, but I want to know both of your thoughts. We get Jesse added to this season and more characters as we go along, but from Abby, Jesse, Dina, Sean, what have you thought about the new additions to the season so far?
I think they cast Jesse so perfectly. I can't remember the actor's name, so forgive me, but he was in Beef as well. And as soon as I saw that, yes, thank you. And as soon as I saw that he was after, it was pretty much like right after Beef. I think he was announced as cast in last of season 2. And I was like, wow, that's really good casting. And he's great. And even that, he has a little bit of a different role than the game. It's the same, but he seems more prominent, kind of like the Dina stuff, where you know that Dina and Jesse were exes, and then he kind of like is the organizer of the patrols and everything like that. But I think he's great casting. Obviously, we talked about Caitlin Deaver, and I think she's perfect. One of her crew, she was an actress in The Runaways, and I didn't even know she was in as one of Abby's crew. And I was like, "Yo, what?" I feel like me and 10 other people would get that.
Yeah.
So
I don't even remember the character's name. I'm a big Marvel fan. I don't even remember the character. Gert. I just remember she has a dinosaur.
Yes, the dinosaur. Yeah.
Gert. Thank you.
So that was cool too. I'm excited to see more of, because I feel like they're going to flesh out Abby's crew more, which they do in the game pretty well. But with the more they've added, I feel like we're going to see much more of. I could be wrong, but I feel like we're going to see much more of Seattle in the WLF, like prior to the game. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But with having Isaac and Jeffrey Wright reprising his role from the game to play Isaac in live action, and him being in this part of the game, that makes me think that there's going to be more of that, because even in the game he's more talked about than in it, I guess is the right way to put it. So I feel like he's going to have a more prominent role, maybe. Again, I don't know yet. But those are the big standouts. We haven't really seen much with Abby's crew other than like those two scenes, and in one they only talked a little. But yeah, I'm excited for more of that. But I love, obviously, Dina. Dina's probably my standout of the new characters. But Jesse is probably Abby than Jesse. But again, we've seen less of Abby. But from what I've seen with Abby and knowing how integral Abby is to this story, I'm excited to see more of what she brings to this character. That's obviously going to be a little different than the game, because obviously the physicality is going to be a lot different than what we've seen in the game, which I'm sure, I know people have already had problems with it, but I just want to see how it goes, because I know she's a great actor, and I think she's going to absolutely demolish what they give her. So yeah, those are my favorite.
Rachel, how about you? Among the new additions, who really stood out to you?
Danny Ramirez. He's barely in it, but it made me so happy to see Danny Ramirez.
I didn't even know he was in this until I saw him.
I keep forgetting that he's in it, and then he would appear, and I'd be like, "Oh right, Danny Ramirez is in this show now." I love him so much. So kudos to Danny Ramirez for being in The Last of Us. I love Gert. I love Jesse. And I love everyone. It was like I was worried because I was like, well, much like the game, I fell in love with the first game and all of the characters, and then we came to the second game, and I was gonna be like, ugh, am I gonna like it as much? And then I liked all the new characters, and that's kind of what's happening with this, where I felt that way about season 1, then season 2 started, and I was like, well, I like all these new characters I'm getting to meet, and so yeah, I like them all.
Dina is undeniably my favorite. Isabel I keep saying her last name weird, but she's been incredible throughout, and we get the closest adaptation to the game for this episode, I think, is directly from the New Year's Eve party, where Dina and Ellie are having their dance, they're having their conversation, they have their kiss, and old boy Seth comes in and is just a mega asshole and fucks things up until Joel comes in and just I love how he just sprints in from out of the frame like a middle linebacker hitting somebody. Like, it's so absolutely perfect. But my favorite part of the episode is when Dina and Ellie are dancing, and Dina goes, Ellie, I think they should be terrified of you. I love the part from the game, but the way it's said in this episode is just so perfect. And like made my jaw drop and go like, wow, I wish she was talking to me. Like, just such an incredible performance in that moment. Sean, what did you think of the New Year's Eve dance where we get the incredible chemistry between Isabella and Bella, and we get Pedro going into dad mode and just giving the amazing performance as he's holding back tears as Ellie's telling him to screw off.
Yeah, I do have to note that in the game, it's just a simple shove, and in the show, he gets shoved to the ground. I feel like that's a big distinction. I saw someone tweet, and they're like, Pedro isn't acting. That's actually just how he deals with homophobes in real life. And I was like, hell yeah, I love that.
Yes.
Great tweet.
Decked. It's not that he gets shoved; he gets decked.
Yeah,
and then in the game too, he's like, Seth's like, why am I the one getting in trouble here? Like, shouldn't everybody be kicked out? And in this, he gets decked, and he's like, all right, I'll go. Yeah. He doesn't want that smoke.
Dude was shook.
He literally is like, okay, time to leave.
Yeah,
like,
it was amazing. That was so great. But yeah, like you said, that line delivery. I mean, for one, this show is shot like so gorgeously. And I remember watching like the behind the scenes of episode 1 and seeing how they kind of mix in real locations and real sets and VFX, and some of the VFX stuff like I would never guess was VFX. That's how good it is in the show, and just it's such a perfect like recreation of the scene, and it was so beautiful. And that line, yeah, they should be terrified of you. Anyone who hasn't played the game, just remember that line. That's all I'm gonna say, because the biggest part of this story of like The Last of Us Part 2 is that you can always be the villain in anyone else's story. And I think the point of The Last of Us is there is no heroes. There's just people trying to survive and trying to find a meaning in life. And kind of like what Rachel said, since it's Pedro Pascal, everyone wants to love him. But I think episode 1 was trying really hard to kind of show that like he's not really the hero. You know, it's kind of like Paul Atreides in Dune Part 2. It's kind of like they're not overtly telling you, but they're showing you in ways that if you are really paying attention, you're like, wait a second. He's not the guy I thought he was, I guess. So that's another important piece of context that as the story goes along. But yeah, I love the chemistry between Bella and Isabella is insane. I think it's like, I think the scene before they go on the patrol was just a great setup to the dance. And even the dance in itself, it happens in a flashback, like way later in the game. So it was cool to not only see the events of the day of the dance kind of get a new addition. Oh yeah, Shimmer love Shimmer. Great great point. I love how they included like all these new this new context, because where the game picks up is pretty much, I think, what episode 2 is going to be. There's a whole different patrol, one with Tommy and Joel and one with Dina and Ellie, which I don't even know if the patrols are going to be the same in the second episode, but that's what happens in the game. That's what starts the game. It kicks off in that, and then all the flashbacks are interweaved through, which we didn't really see any flashbacks. It started with a flashback, and then all of it was in quote unquote present day, according to the universe. So I thought it was a great way to set up, again, to take this change, what they can do with time, and kind of set the stage for Jackson. Because what I love, and I don't even think they really did it in the game, is they made Jackson kind of its own character, and they showed up like having Joel be a foreman, having Dina working with Joel. Stuff like that is just like great world building that wasn't really in the game. A little bit like the patrol stuff is obviously in the game and everything like that, but even the council, it was just like nice little details that settle you in this world. And I'm just really enjoying how they're handling that and how they keep building out the world and expanding on these side characters, because obviously in the game it's mainly focused on Joel and Ellie for the most part. They are the main perspective, but in a show you can focus on many more perspectives, and part 2 is a lot more characters, as we've already established in this first episode. There's a lot more going on than in season 1. But yeah, the dance was beautiful, and great cameo from Gustavo, who not only does the score for the show, did the score for the video games as well. The most emotionally inducing like guitar riff I think I've ever heard. Every time it plays, I'm like, God damn it, stop it. It's so beautiful. But yeah, he was in the live band, that was really cool. Little Easter egg.
Rachel, what were some of your takeaways from the New Year's Eve scene with Belly and Dina? Ellie and Dina. Honestly, like, we know why Ellie is pissed at Joel and why she reacts this way, but maybe it's just like parts of my own trauma or pieces of things that I've talked to people with, where it's like, I feel like I know so many people around our age where a common parenting trait from our parents has been like, hey, they love us and they don't want us to feel hurt. And so they're trying to protect us from those things. But what it turns into is like, no, don't be like that, because this is how people will think of you. Don't put yourself into these situations, because what if somebody will make fun of you, et cetera, especially, living in a place where I have a queer sister in a fairly homophobic area, like not totally, but like we got a lot of hicks in Saskatchewan. And so I just remember that always being a thing, like, hey, you got to be careful of like where you're being yourself, because you don't know who's going to be around to be shitty towards you. And I just remember thinking so often in those situations, like, they, whoever it is, we don't need a shield right now. We need a sword. Like, I don't need you to protect me from being who I am, and I don't need you to tell me to not be who I am in public. I need you to support me, and if shit goes wrong, have my back. And so seeing Joel just absolutely take out Seth, I know why Ellie's pissed, but I was on his side there. I was like, fuck yeah, Joel, protect your baby.
Yeah. What I was gonna say, I was like, I like it, but I also understand, like, because she's 19, and it's also such a man thing to be like, oh, you said a slur to my daughter, I'm just gonna deck you in the face.
Yeah.
And it's like, how is that helping the situation? Because now you're just beating a dude up. And now, like, everyone's gonna be talking about how you decked the guy and
Yeah.
not the fact that that guy was homophobic because they're gonna be like, he just got punched in the face. And so
It's
I
also funny
don't-
though because Ellie probably was just going to punch him in the face.
Yeah. Well, I think that's also probably why she was mad, because it was like, well, now you took me defending myself away from me. But he took it as like, oh, if I punch this guy, they're not gonna retaliate on her. And she like didn't like whatever it is just very funny that it went from like that guy was verbally harassing them and he went bet and just like punched him in the face.
And then when she's getting mad at him, he's just like, "You're right. I'm sorry." It's so sad.
Because he's sad that whole scene. He's just like sitting at a table by himself or he's like with his family, but they're all dealing with their own things, and he's just like with his cup.
Poor sweet Joel, doing anything to protect his kids. Shit hits the fan when they I didn't realize how I was just rewatching right before we went on today to kind of like get my bearings, and I didn't realize quite how long actually this scene when they go out on their alpine run with all the group together. Jesse's taking the lead, Dina and Ellie are being goofs, and they go into town because they find a shitload of zombies, and ultimately they find the first Stalker, an all new type of zombie where we already had to deal with bloaters in the first game in the first season, and now we're dealing with Stalkers. What's a Stalker? It's a smart ass zombie. It's a zombie that knows how to sneak around and knows how to hide and knows how to creep up on humans and essentially think and hunt like a human would, as opposed to a mindless zombie. Rachel, these things scare me more than any other type of zombie in the game. Like, they're freaking terrifying.
Yeah, I agree. But also, I need to watch it on HBO to see if they've changed it, because in my screeners, some of them straight up just look like humans. And I was like,
with like a little zombie head thing sticking out the top.
None of it. They just look like a dude running, and I'm like, that's even more terrifying because you're like, is that a regular ass dude or is that a zombie? And so I need to see if they like if it was just that they hadn't finished the VFX or what. Because I remember I was watching it and I'm like, now that's just the man. Is he an infected man? Is he trying to bite some people? Like, what's his deal? And so that'll be interesting to see if that is changed. If not, that is even more terrifying that they
just the dude.
Like, dude, they're chasing you. But yeah, those things, I don't like them. No thanks.
Sean, what did
Jackson?
Sean, what did you think of the new patrol that gets added? It's a brand new scene, and also the way they introduce Stalkers.
Yeah, it elicited the same feeling as when I played them, because every time you have to play against them, since it's hard to like pick them off because they're sneaking like you are. So you're trying to like, you have to like lure them out, and usually if you do something loud enough to lure them out, you lure all of them, and there's always like 3 or 4 of them, and it's such a pain in the ass to try and kill them. But the way it was sneaking around and how it comes out of that little compartment, and I think they look grosser in live action than they do in the game, which they look pretty gross in the game, to be honest. And I was like, God, that's disgusting. So good job for that. And I definitely did the Leo point when they're in the council and like they stalked me. I was like, she said the thing. So I'm guessing that's how they start calling them stalkers. I was like, they said it.
Say that again.
And the whole Ellie falling through the floor is such a game thing. Like, that always happens, and it always is a jump scare because you're just playing, just thinking you're fine. You just cleared some clickers, you're feeling great, and then you fall through a floor, and then there's like something way worse down there. It always happens. So I was like, what a cool little nod to have that just within the show. So that was nice too.
The episode ends with the creepy fungi tendrils inside of the pipes interacting. What does this mean? What will be happening? We know all of these zombies are connected through their fungi. What is going to happen when the tendrils are roaming around in Jackson? Rachel, what's going on? You have some thoughts?
I hate that they have a fungi network.
It's
I hate
terrifying.
it. I don't like it. So, like, what do you mean? Like, why? Why is there a fungi network? I don't like it. That was all my face was because it made me think about it, and I don't like that. I know that's how Anna Torv died, but I don't like the fungi network. No, thank you. That's all.
What did you like? As I was saying, the ending just it hits well. It hits hard. It's creepy with the fungi tendrils. But Sean, you started talking about a few of the Easter eggs that get pointed out throughout this episode. One of my favorite parts is how the movement in whenever they're doing their patrols and they're out in the open and it's not like a story time, the movement mimics the game so well, from the ways they hop onto vehicles to get into abandoned buildings, the way the floor falls out from underneath them, like you previously mentioned. I love those little odes. What are some other Easter eggs that you pointed out when you were watching episode 1?
Yeah, I love the climbing in the truck to get into a window thing. Like that was like, oh my God, amazing. Like they one of the many small little things that aren't like overt game references, but like game players will obviously notice. The throwing of the beer bottle was a great one for me, because I think I was like, they were really missing throwing a brick or a beer bottle in season 1. So I was so happy they totally rectified that in one episode. I was so happy to see that. And also, Dina basically uses listen mode, which is basically when you're playing the game, you press R1, you hold down R1, and it like slows things down, and you can like see outlines of clickers or any enemies while you're in this mode. And I love that how Ellie is like, let's go. And she's like, wait a second. And then listens and goes, nope, there's not one, there's 2. And I was like, wow. And that is such a sneaky way to like have a game play mechanic involved in a live action thing without it like being involved in a live action thing. So that was a great one. Tons of Curtis and Viper references, which those were in season 1 as well. It's one of Joel's favorite movie franchises that are I kind of wish that we would get like a trailer. Like I love fake trailers. I think it's part of why I like the studio so much. You get so much fake like movie stuff in it that's not real. I always love like a fake trailer within something. So maybe one day. What else? Ellie upgrading her gun on the workbench, big thing. It's a big thing in the game. It's kind of the quiet moments where you get to any of the little parts you find while you're rummaging through the post-apocalyptic world and upgrading your guns. So that was a really good one. When they go into that building, there's like an employee of the month thing, and having a dog in there is as one of the employees of the month is straight from the game as well. And then I also mentioned the Gustavo cameo, and then the falling through the floor. And it's a popular mechanic in The Last of Us to separate when you have 2 people working together on a mission. Someone falls through the floor. So those are the big ones I caught. Were those.
Rachel, final thoughts on The Last of Us episode 1 of season 2. Did it meet your expectations, surpass them, and anything else that you want to talk about from the episode?
Joel Miller's hot. That's all. Even in his 60s, it's a hot man. Hot Joel Miller. I love that man. No notes. I miss my favorite image from season 1, which was like twice Pedro Pascal would be laying on his stomach with his butt in the air, and that was like a shot in this show. I still don't know why that was a thing. And I missed that. So they should have included that in the first episode. Other than that, no notes.
If you want some more takes, like we want to see more of Pedro Pascal's butt, make sure you join us live again tomorrow night for the season finale of Daredevil Born Again. Myself, Damon, and Rachel will be back breaking that episode down with us. And then we will next week be starting to talk some Andor. I still have to figure out how we're going to do the release schedule for that, since they're not doing 1 episode at a time. They're doing 3 episodes at a time. And so I don't really know if it'll be viable for us to pop up at 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning, whenever those are going to be done, and be live immediately after. So it might have to be a next day thing. I will keep you all updated on the Agents of Fandom socials at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube so you don't miss out on any of our content. Sean, do you have any articles coming up you want to share? What's going on at the Metalcore Nerds podcast? You covering the metal bands at Coachella this week or what?
No, but Speed playing Coachella was sick as fuck. So if you don't know who Speed is, go listen to Speed. They're incredible. They were on tour with Knock Loose like a year or 2 years ago, and that kind of blew them up here in the States. They're from Australia. They have flute incorporated in some of their songs, so a hardcore band with flute involved. So if I don't know what else I need more to sell you, just go check out Speed. I watched their set live on YouTube. That was awesome. But no, not really covering much of that. Also, Courtney from Spirit Box sang with Megan Thee Stallion at Coachella too, which was also very sick. Because they're currently on tour.
She brought Sierra out there. She brought Sierra and Victoria Monet out there.
Wild. Yeah, some of the Coachella like
I saw that on Twitter.
stage production and stuff is so mind-boggling to me. So kudos to the people that build and think of that stuff, because it's really, really cool. I'll probably have a ton of the Last of Us articles coming out on Collider. I am working on one specifically about Gina and her listen mode. So I'll be able to breaking down that for you. That should come out this week. Have some stuff about Mobland, the new Guy Ritchie series with Tom Hardy and Pierce Brosnan. That's pretty solid so far. I think I just had a Daredevil article drop talking about how they wasted Muse.
Did they, or is he going to be resurrected by the Hand?
Even if they resurrect him, my point still stands. The way they built out him within this season was my biggest gripe of this season. I've really enjoyed this season, but that's my biggest gripe, is how they handled that, because it felt like he was just a plot point rather than a character. And even if he gets resurrected, not going to change my opinion. It would be cool to see him resurrected. And
what if he's resurrected with his powers, Sean?
You know,
what if he's resurrected with his same powers from comics?
Still cool. Still doesn't change my opinion. What happens? That would be sick. That would be really great. And it was pretty much comparing to the earlier episodes and kind of the newer episodes with the overhaul, and how I hope they're done with the trope of introducing cool new characters and then killing them an episode later, because they did that a few times this season already. So, but with my man Bullseye coming back, and I know he's in season 2, because you can't go on Twitter without seeing set photos from Daredevil filming season 2, apparently. I know he's still alive.
I've had to mute block people just throwing stuff up without hashtags unprompted.
It's crazy, man. Like, every time I just go on, I see a new Daredevil like set photo, and I'm like, I guess no one cares anymore. It's cool. I'm like, great, awesome. So don't love that, but yeah, you can check out. I put out like 3 to 4 articles a week on Collider, so lots of stuff going on over there. The podcast is bi-weekly now, so if you want to hear, I don't know if since I'll be here covering The Last of Us, I don't know if I'm really going to cover it on the show unless someone really wants to. But I do have some cool stuff that's going to be kind of DC connected with a band. If you know James Gunn, you know he loves his music. So I'll be talking to a band that he's worked with on some of his stuff, and he has a cameo in Superman, stuff like that. So that's going to be really exciting. And so if you want more of that, just metalcornernerds.com, all the stuff's there, at metalcornernerds on all social media. So that's where you can find me if you want to see more of my ramblings about pop culture and music and stuff.
Rachel, you'll be back on tomorrow night, but what if people can't even wait that long for more Rachel? They need more Rachel now. Where can they find your podcast, your articles? Do you have anything fun coming up?
You can follow my work at the Mary Sue and Collider. You can see me on social media. I'm Rachel Leishman only on Twitter, and then Rachel_Leishman everywhere else. And yeah, that's where you can find me and my face.
Thank you so much for joining us today, everybody. Don't forget to hit the like button. Help us grow this community. Follow the Agents of Fandom on socials at Agents Fandom and TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. Follow us on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget, We have some really, really exciting interviews for Andor coming up. Couple characters on the side of the Empire, couple characters on the side of the Rebellion. It's going to be a lot of fun. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We will see you next time. On behalf of myself, Sean, and Rachel,